Alright, so in your second lesson without me, we're going to look at vertical angles and linear pairs. Again, pretty easy topic, but make sure you take your time, make sure you rewind, pause, whatever you need to do. And we're going to take a look at, again, vertical angles and linear pairs. So, first one, vertical angles are a pair of angles formed by intersecting lines. Basically, they create an X, like I have drawn over here to the right. And what we're going to know about these vertical angles, I'll show you in a second, but the angles across from each other will always be equal, as you see by the two dots across from each other and the single dots across from each other. That means that those angles are congruent or equal. A linear pair is a pair of angles that make a straight angle, and you guys know what that is already. So they're going to make a straight angle, and their angles are not necessarily going to be the same, but we know that their angles are going to form 180 degrees. So again, if we look here, you have vertical angles over here. These are vertical. And x and y are the same. So this angle and this angle are going to be the same. So if this was 90, this would be 90. Over here, we're going to have x and y make 180. So if this is 100 degrees, this would be 80 degrees. So you have vertical angles that make an x and linear pairs. Think about the word linear. They make a line together. So looking at a couple examples, real simple ones to start. The first pair we have is a linear pair. Okay, and together these angles make 180 degrees. 180 minus 40 is 140 degrees. Angle 1 would have to be 140 to make those angles 180 degrees together. The next set is a vertical angle set. They make an X. You're on the lookout for an X for vertical angles. And the angles across from each other are the same. So if this is 60 degrees, then this angle is 60 degrees as well. So again, pretty simple idea. And then in the next one, I actually have a combination of all of those. So angle 2 is across from 50. That's a vertical angle set. So I'm going to go with angle 2 first. And then these angles combined are 180. So 180 minus 50 is, yep, you guessed it, 130 degrees. So again, some basic ones to start. Here's some true false. Alright, angle 1 and angle 2 equal 180. So these two together, do they equal 180? Absolutely, yes, that would be true. Angle 2 is congruent to angle 4. While vertical angles we said are the same, and these angles are right across from each other in x, that's also true. Angle 1 is congruent to angle 4. Well, we know angle 1 and angle 4 are 180. So the only way that they could be the same is if they were 90 and 90, but we don't see these boxes anywhere, so we don't know that they're 90 and 90, so we can't assume that, so we'd have to say that's false. Okay, a couple more problems. First one. Alright, when you get these kind of problems, you don't necessarily need to go in the order that I give you. So if you don't want to start at angle 1, don't start at angle 1. Because here's what I would do. I would go on the diagram and you see 60 degrees and it makes an X here. So the angle across from it also has to be 60 degrees. Those are congruent. Same thing, 1 and 40 are across from each other in X, so this has to be 40 degrees. The only thing you have to find now is angle 2 or angle 4. If you know 2, you know 4. If you know 4, you know 2. So the way you want to look at this is you have a straight angle there. And a straight angle always adds up to 180. And instead of having a linear pair, you have 1, 2, 3 angles. So you kind of like a linear trio. We don't really have that vocab word. So if we can figure out this leftover, we know it all. So 180 minus 40 minus 60 would give you 80 degrees left over. If that's 80, that's 80 together as well. So 40 plus 60 plus 80, that adds back up to 180 degrees. Alright, a couple more. Then we'll do a tough one to end with. Solve for x and find the angle 1. Okay, so you're on the lookout for, again, your x's and your straight lines for vertical angles and linear pairs. So I see right away that these angles make an x. So I know those angles are vertical, so they have to be equal. So 4x plus 6 equals 6x minus 14. Some good algebra practice. 6 equals 2x minus 14. 20 equals 2x and divide by 2, you get 10. Okay, so easy enough getting 10, just setting them equal. Now to find angle 1, you can't just plug it back in angle 1 because there's nothing there. So you have to plug it into one of the two angles that you would like to. It doesn't matter which one you do. So you can plug it in here or you can plug it in here. So I'll plug it on the one on the left. So 4 times 10 is 40, plus 6 is 46. If you plugged it in the right, you'd get 6 times 10 is 60, minus 14 is 46, which they should be the same. Now if you look at this, we know that that is a, oops, did not mean to do that. Alright, we're back. That was a little scary. So again, 180 minus 46, because this has to be 180 degrees combined, 180 minus 46 gives you 134 degrees for angle 1. My suggestion would be to see if you can work ahead and try the next two on your own. If you can't, you can always press play again and see what I do. So for number 1 and the next one, okay, we have vertical angles, angle 1 and angle 3x are across from each other, but that doesn't help us at all because we're trying to find angle 1. But we have a linear pair here. Those two angles combined make 180 degrees. So you always need to think about the setup first before you just randomly set them equal or add them up to 180 degrees. Think about what you want to do. So we have 5x plus 20 plus 3x. Those together make 180 degrees, or that's a linear pair. So 5x and 3x is 8x. Subtract 20. 8x equals 160. So we get x to be 20 degrees. Or 20, we could just call it 20. Now to find angle 1, again, you can either plug it into 5x plus 20 or 3x. Depending on what you plug it into, decides how you're going to find angle 1. So I'm going to plug it into 3x. So you can plug in 20 times 3 is 60 degrees. So if that's 60, then the angle across from it has to be 60 degrees because those are vertical angles. If you would have plugged it into 5x plus 20, you would have gotten 5 times 20 is 100, plus 20 was 120 degrees up here. And then you would have had to subtract from 180 to find 60 because those make a linear pair. So you always have to pay attention to what's going on with your angles and what kind of setup it is. Okay, our last one, a little bit of a tricky one, so I started. Start with, you see the angles that across from each other make an x. Again, here's your x, the angles across from each other make that perfect x. So these two angles are congruent. So 6x minus 10 equals 3x plus 20 because they're vertical angles. Subtract 3x, you get 3x minus 10 equals 20. Add 10, 3x equals 30. You get x equals 10. Okay. Now that you know x equals 10, always plug it back in because that's going to help you see more things happen. So let's see, you can plug it into either one. They should be the same, so let's plug it in the one on the right. 3 times 10 is 30, plus 20 is 50 degrees if you plug it in there. Or 6 times 10 is 60, minus 10 is 50 degrees here. So we know we did it right for sure. Now, a little bit trickier. You know that these two angles combine to be 180 degrees, or we should know that. That's a linear pair, they're supplementary. So if we want to set this up, we can't just do 180 minus 50, because that would give us 130, but we have a 2y over there. So your setup would be something like 2y plus 50 equals 180. Those two together make 180 degrees. Now you can go ahead and figure out y is 65. If you plugged it back in, you'd get 2 times 65 is 130, and it all works out. So again, go back to anything you need to. Take some time, work on the group work together, check your answer keys. You should have checked your answer key yesterday as well. But check your answer key to both days. On Monday, you guys will review in class on worksheet 2, and you'll be able to check your key as well, so you have some time to work with each other on worksheet 2. And then again, we will quiz on these last 2 days that we just looked at on Tuesday when I come back. I will see you guys on Tuesday.